My husband and I had known each other since high school. I grew up in a poor family, and he came from a wealthy family. Justin was always the envy of the girls, not only at our school, but probably half the girls in our town. Always fashionably dressed, bold in his actions, smart and physically fit, Justin stood out among the other guys. To everyone's surprise, even though he was surrounded by female admirers, one day, to everyone's envy, he asked me out on a date. I was both excited and nervous, as I was focused on my studies and preparing to enter a local medical university specializing in Chinese alternative medicine. Because of this, I didn't seriously date anyone until after graduation. Besides, I was sure Justin saw me as just another passing interest, just another conquest of the female soul. 2 years passed. Justin's father, Thomas, had become the deputy head of our town's administration, and his mom had opened a successful business with a chain of stores all over town. His parents hoped to find him a bride from their social circle, but he fell in love with me. When they forbade him from seeing me, he was so upset that he even considered running away from home. Luckily, they got over it, but his mother began to openly dislike me. Despite this, one day, Justin proposed to me. He saw me as a worthy wife and a good mother, and he appreciated that I didn't ask him for money like his previous girlfriends. His mother was adamantly opposed to our marriage, but surprisingly, his father, Thomas, didn't object. He believed that I could give Justin the gift of support and genuine love. So despite the strained relationship with his family, I agreed to marry Justin. After the wedding, we planned to move to the capital city, but his parents insisted that we live nearby. As a wedding gift, they gave us a small house next to theirs. It wasn't my ideal. I was hoping for an independent life with Justin, and being so close to his parents seemed stifling. Determined to make a change, I decided to approach my father-in-law for financial assistance to move to the city so that Justin and I could grow on our own. Thomas was surprised by my visit, but greeted me warmly. He called his secretary to reschedule meetings and sat down with me over tea, ready to listen. As I explained our desire for independence, I felt he understood my desperation. When I finished, I added that I would do anything to leave with my husband as soon as possible. Hearing this, Thomas looked at me with intrigue and a small smirk. "So, anything?" he repeated. I hesitated briefly, but disappointment made my mind up. "Yes, anything. I'm begging you to help me." At that moment, Thomas stood up, locked the door, poured himself a drink, and said, "Well, if you're willing to do anything, then be my mistress. I know you don't truly love Justin. You're with him for comfort. I don't feel any guilt about it. I'm not even his real father, and he only loves me for the money. Everything in this world, honey, is based on money. It's a vicious circle." And sadly, he was right. I did care about Justin, but I was mostly with him for a comfortable life. Hating myself, I agreed to Thomas's proposal, and immediately we became lovers. Although I justified it as a means to help my family and ensure our independence, I was ashamed to admit that I enjoyed it. Thomas made me promise to keep it a secret and assured me that we would start planning our move the next day. He also said he would visit me regularly. Justin remained in the dark, and I hoped he would never know the price I had paid for our freedom. The next day, Thomas kept his word. He organized everything for our move to the city, providing us with a nice apartment in an upscale neighborhood. I was shocked at how quickly he had arranged everything, but he assured me that it was important to him to keep his promises. He also got Justin a new job with a reputable company, which made it easy for us to settle into our new life. I was able to put the incident out of my mind for a while, convincing myself that it was just a one-time sacrifice for the greater good. Justin and I had settled into a routine, and life in the city was just as we dreamed it would be: full, independent, and full of opportunities. However, Thomas's visits regularly reminded us that I had made a pact. He would call or drop by unannounced, expecting me to hold up my end of the bargain. Though I knew it was wrong, some part of me couldn't say no, perhaps out of guilt, perhaps out of fear, and oddly enough, some part of me felt flattered by his attention. As the months passed, the strain of living a double life began to weigh on me. Mystery hung over every moment I spent with Justin, making me feel detached and detached. He noticed it too. "You're kind of different, like you're not here," he said one night as we lay in bed. I forced myself to smile, writing it off as the stress of adjusting to city life. But inside, I knew it was more than that. One night, when Justin was working late, I got an unexpected call from Thomas. His voice sounded different this time, excited. He said he was on his way over to my place and that we needed to talk. When he arrived, he looked more serious than I'd ever seen him. "This has to end," he said, almost regretfully. He explained that he felt torn, like he was betraying Justin and the family he had created. I could see the conflict in his eyes, but I wasn't sure whether I should feel relief or sadness. We agreed not to see each other again, and Thomas promised that he would still help us financially, but from a distance. I was relieved, but part of me also felt a strange sense of loss. After that day, he started keeping his distance, and things gradually returned to normal. I put all my energy into supporting Justin, focusing on building a life together. The guilt never left me, but I decided to move forward and give my marriage a real chance. Over time, however, I realized that the agreement with Thomas had changed me. I was now acutely aware of the choices I had made and how they had affected my life. I realized that I needed to be honest, not only with Justin, but also with myself. To feel whole again, I needed to acknowledge my actions and their consequences, no matter what it cost me. One night, I worked up the courage to sit down at the table with Justin. Taking a deep breath, I told him everything, my secrets, the choices I'd made, and the reasons behind them. As the words came out, a heaviness fell off of me. Justin sat in stunned silence, shock and betrayal reflected on his face. When I finished, he stared at me for a long moment, his eyes filled with emotions I couldn't understand. "I need time to process all of this," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. He got up and left, and I was left alone, wondering if I had lost everything. But despite the pain and uncertainty, I felt a strange sense of peace. For the first time in years, I felt free, not from Thomas, not from my past, but from the secrets that held me captive. No matter what happened next, I knew I could face it honestly and start over, either with Justin or on my own.